One of the most significant things that happened this week is that the Texas House of Representatives finally adopted their rules of procedure. And what that means is that they can actually move forward now with the process of having committee hearings and starting to move some bills through the process. There were a couple of significant changes in the rules. They took and consolidated several House committees and took and moved some of the authority those committees have around. For instance, the State Affairs Committee now has all the jurisdiction over public utilities like cable and telephone and electricity. That used to be the case back during Speaker Laney's days, but that had been divided into another committee. So the State Affairs Committee is going to have a lot more influence than it has for the last few sessions. Another big change is that Ways and Means Committee will now have all the tax issues. It will no longer be divided between Ways and Means and local Ways and Means. Of course, what that means for agriculture is that our tax considerations will all go to one committee. It will no longer be divided with property tax issues going to local Ways and Means and sales tax issues going to the Ways and Means Committee. So we'll just have one committee that we have to deal with. And we had one little controversy this week, and that was with the attempt to take municipal eminent domain authority and municipal annexation authority and take it away from the Land and Resource Management Committee and move it over to the Urban Affairs Committee. Several of the rural members of the legislature saw that they were trying to make that change, and they went and talked to the leadership about it, and they were able to get those issues put back to the Land and Resource Management Committee, where they've been since 1995. So now that all the rules are in place, the House can move forward with its business. And in fact, from what we hear, committees will actually be appointed and chairmen will be appointed next Thursday, February the 5th. American Farm Bureau Federation President Bob Stallman was in town this week and was honored by the Texas House and the Texas Senate with a resolution that recognized him as being the first president of the American Farm Bureau Federation from the state of Texas. President Diersky accompanied him to the floor of the House and the floor of the Senate, where they read the resolution and they were recognized by the legislature. And the great thing about that is that it really gave us an opportunity to highlight Texas Farm Bureau and Texas agriculture for all those members of the legislature, many of whom are urban.
This was a great week for property rights and for eminent domain because it was so much in the news. Governor Perry held a State of the State address where he talked about property rights, he talked about property right reform and protecting property rights, but he didn't say anything about eminent domain having compensation provisions or talking about diminished access, paying for diminished access. And what was so great is our members, the Texas Farm Bureau, had our leadership conference this week, so we had over 300 Farm Bureau members in town, both to hear people talk, to hear the legislators talk, and more importantly, they went and were able to talk to the representatives themselves. When they talked to the representatives, they said, yes, we appreciate Governor Perry's efforts, but let's make this real, let's make this good. Let's go on and include compensation provisions and really reform eminent domain to help the property owner. They talked about House Bill 402 by Beverly Woolley and how that bill includes compensation provisions, and that's the kind of bill we need to get passed.
This week, Joe Maley, Shauna Richardson, and I met with the Transportation and Homeland Security Committee Chairman, Senator John Corona, in his office while everyone was here making rounds at the Capitol. We discussed transportation issues with the Senator, and he was very insightful, giving us some ideas that have been floated around on how best to hold the Texas Transportation Department and the Transportation Commission more accountable. One of those ideas that he shared with us is the establishment of a Legislative Oversight Committee. This committee would be comprised of both senators and state representatives, and they would be charged with identifying new plans that both the department and the commission intend to implement. Another subject that we discussed, as I reported last week to you all, is regarding Senate Bill 348, also sponsored by Senator John Corona. Senate Bill 348 deals with the establishment of advisory and segment committees for various road construction projects that the department and the commission both are implementing. However, the bill does not include language that stipulates affected property owners as mandatory stakeholders. This is something that's very important to our Farm Bureau members, and it's important to our state. in order to make sure that the people who are truly affected by these road construction projects have a say at the table, it's vital that statutory language be created that the commission and the department need to follow. He understood our intent behind this as well. However, at the moment, his bill does not include that component, so I encourage our Farm Bureau members to contact Senator Corona's office and also their local legislators and highlight the importance of this.
Well, this week we had the opportunity to have Representative Otto address our leadership conference in Austin, and he went over his House Bill 2, which is going to be a property appraisal reform bill on property taxes. One of the main things that he indicated he was going to attempt in that bill is he has met with Comptroller Combs and has agreement with her that every other year the Comptroller's office would do its property value studies as they already do. But on the other years, off years, they would do an audit of the methods and procedures that each appraisal district uses in determining values around the state. The thought there is that you could get some more uniformity in how the property tax code is implemented. It wouldn't necessarily be a statewide code or procedures, but you could get some more uniformity to it, and you could certainly rein in some of the counties or some of the appraisal districts where they try to start taxing things differently than they ever have in the past in an effort to bring in more revenue. Another provision that was in the bill that is interesting is talking about only being able to value a residence at its residence value. The issue came up because of houses that are in commercial areas. They may be valued at $100,000 as a residence, but the appraisal district comes in and says, well, your highest and best use of this property would be as a commercial enterprise, and therefore we're going to value it at $300,000. It's condemnation by valuation in a sense, because the homeowner can't afford to pay taxes on something that would be a $300,000 commercial enterprise if they're just using it as a residence. And so this bill would prohibit that, and it has a constitutional amendment that is connected with it that would also put that into the Constitution.